we don't need to put this on the podcast, but I am writing about how much I hate Dwight Jaynes currently. And
good.
Which is funny that he blocked you on Twitter. I've already blocked that motherfucker. So yeah, he can see me. He can try and see me when I'm famous, like 80 years from now.
He blocked my old Twitter handle and my new Twitter handle.
Well, it isn't like very much. So I'm sure he recognized it was you.
This motherfucker again. Yeah, probably.
Terry, nice shirt.
Thank you. You made this shirt for us.
I did.
Yeah.
That's from the logo, a one-time used logo in like 1972.
Was it one time for that season or is it one time for that game?
No, like one game.
One game. What JP is referring to is would you call this like a block lettering, JP?
Yeah, it's kind of like a negative space lettering.
A weird font. And if you've listened to this podcast so far, first, thank you. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. The numbers, the listenership numbers, we're not going gangbusters, but it is seeing tens of listeners. It really is inspiring and helpful and gets us, back to recording, every few weeks. It will get more consistent as we get back into the academic year and sports are, more happening more consistently. But if you are listening and you've listened to multiple episodes, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Do us a favor and share the pod with a friend. Give us 5 stars, write a review. Tell us which of the 3 of us you like best. I know it won't be me. And really fun if you listen to the Belligerent Beavs takeover. Tell us which one of the Babes you like the best. That'll get really fun. That was a great time. And yeah, recording that in JP's basement. And with saying that, God, it's great to see you guys on Zoom again here, but it was so fucking great to see you two in person. God damn, I can't say it enough. It was so nice to see you guys.
How did the rest of the weekend go?
It was good.
It went great. We got to see you, JP, for a couple of nights. It took all of 20 minutes for Benny to lose his wallet, which threw a wrench into it, but we got around it. Yep. We're adaptable dudes. So that was.
But hold on, I like the realization when Benny realized he didn't have his wallet. And it was like, well, I can make this work. I'll just have to go to the bank. And it was like, what are you going to do when you get to the bank? Just pronounce, hi, I am Benjamin Weehage.
I do declare I am Ben Weehage.
There is a status update on the wallet. It was found on a Portland TriMet bus. And I had a friend go and get it, and it's being shipped to me right now.
Oh, so you're getting the physical wallet back?
Yeah, I was a real big idiot and left my social security number card in the wallet, which was still in there when it was found. The $200 or $300 or $400 in cash that I had was not in the wallet, but everything else was. So that's good.
Yeah,
the win.
Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what's worth more, your identity or the $400?
I'm gonna go with my identity, but it's close.
If you steal Benny's identity, you have to assume wearing a 16-pound vest every time you mow the lawn, even in 110-degree heat, like you've seen in the Pacific Northwest right now. Holy shit! How are you guys doing, Benny? I'm really happy that the fan in the background isn't messing with the audio because it would kill me to ask you to turn it off. I know it's about 52 degrees in JP's basement right now, but it is a heat wave like no other out in your guys' neck of the woods. How are you guys surviving?
It's the heat wave's over, so it's actually nice and comfortable inside now. But yeah, the house that I live in does not have air conditioning, so it got up to I think 96 was the highest that it got inside the house. So it sucked, but I was more worried about the dogs than anything else. I just sweated it out. It was pretty hot 3 days, but glad to have the temperatures back down in the normal range now.
In double digits.
How did you sleep?
So I actually came up with I didn't come up with it.
Did you fill the weighted vest with ice packs?
That would have been a good idea. No, I actually had a 5-gallon bucket that I filled with ice and drilled holes in, and then put a fan on the top that blew the air through the ice out the holes, and it worked. It was a DIY air conditioning unit. It worked until the ice melted, which was pretty quick.
Does that take more energy than just a general air conditioning unit?
Dude, ACs are expensive.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That was the most redneck air conditioning unit I've ever heard of.
He just lost $400 from losing his wallet, JP. He doesn't have the walking around money for an AC unit.
I have to say, I have a lot of self-respect, but I will even say that is the most Ben Weehage thing that I may have ever done.
Oh my God. I love that so much. Well, here's hoping that whoever walked away with the cash from your wallet got themselves a nice AC unit.
I sure hope
survived. So. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, you're paying it forward. Way to go, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, we're back for another episode. We had a great party episode in JP's basement with the takeover episode last week. Shout out again to Annie Bertram, Kelsey Showalter, and Stephanie Peters. No last name joke this time. We're moving on. And that was a great time. And it is the beginning of yet another episode. And we're losing Ben for a second, but JP, it's you and me. And what we normally do at the beginning of the episode is share what type of beverage we're enjoying. And I feel like Ben just ran out to go get a drink because he forgot that he needed to have one. So we'll start with you, Jay. What kind of a beer are you enjoying this evening?
Would you be surprised if I told you it's another double IPA?
No, you drink like a madman.
Yeah.
Not like a lot, but a thing from Portland that people need to know. It's our first night there. We surprise a super secret producer, Iskinder, for his birthday. Weehage loses his wallet, but we still go to the bars and we drink too much. And we decide to end the night at JP's house. We're in the basement.
This is bad.
We've had too many drinks. We've poisoned ourselves, to a point where we all need to go to bed. JP says one more beer, and it's the fucking cinnamon toast crunch thick cake beer from Great Notion. We all have a whole, 20-ounce pounder of it. And I think that's the beer that put me on my ass for the rest of the weekend.
I was hurting so hard the next day. That was like an 11% beer at like 1 a.m.
After a lot of not 11% beers. It literally ruined the night. So fuck you, but also thank you because it's an expensive beer and I appreciate it.
I was spinning in my bed for the first time since I probably was in Corvallis.
Right. That's why we had a case of Bud Light delivered the next day. It's like, we need to hydrate. We need the opposite. We don't do anything in between Great Notion and Bud Light. We just do the two extremes. So JP, you're drinking another double IPA tonight. Is it a Great Notion IPA or is it?
It is not. It is not. It is a No Use for Smugglers double IPA from Brick and Feather Brewery. And I believe they're located in Turner Falls, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So wait, did I go the wrong direction this time? Which direction was I going?
I feel like you're just going all over the place because you did Alaska the first episode.
Oh yeah, so I was going east.
Another episode. Yeah, but I don't know what did you do episode 3?
I think remember. Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah. So you're on where are you going east from Massachusetts? So you're gonna drink a Guinness next episode?
I should just drink a Guinness and get it over with and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Will you say the name of the brewery one more time so our listeners can know to?
Yeah, Brick and Feather Brewery.
Brick and Feather Brewery.
It's a microbrewery in Turner Falls, Massachusetts.
Shout out to Turner. If you're listening in Turner Falls, I don't know how, but thank you. One of us is enjoying your beer right now. Is it good, JP?
Yeah, it's delicious. I think I always rate things a 4.2 on Untapped out of 5. And that's what I gave this one.
Yeah. It's a solid B. You can't get,
that's like better than my GPA. So
I think it's better than all of our GPAs. We've been very transparent on how long it took us to get through Oregon State University collectively on this podcast. I don't think any of our listeners are like, these guys were honor students. I had one semester on the dean's list, or one term on the dean's list.
I had one term with the president's scholarship or something.
Nice. I had one term where I got kicked out and then had to come back.
I had a term where I almost got kicked out. Nice. What do we call the kick out honors?
The study abroad program. Study
abroad at LBCC. You're going to an exotic location called Albany.
Yeah.
There's a Benjamin Weehage. You are here. You are wearing a men's basketball Pac-12 championship t-shirt.
Yeah, I am. And
which looks sweet.
Thank you. I'm drinking a Great Notion, part of the leftover bundle that we had from the weekend. The Aguas Frescas.
Right.
And it is delicious.
Yeah. Leftover because I love you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
It was so great to see you. So I had to send you home with that.
Yeah, it was a great parting gift. I
was also boarding a plane and couldn't take it with me, but I do actually love you and was happy to impart those to you.
Well, yeah, it's worth the coffee that we grabbed right before you hopped on the plane.
Yeah, that was a hell of a coffee.
It was very good coffee.
I think we need to save the details of said coffee for when we eventually have a Patreon for Belligerent Beavs, and we have to have, secret content just for our patrons.
Agreed.
It was a great coffee. No more will be said about the coffee. You can use your imaginations.
It was just great coffee.
JP doesn't even know what we're talking about. He's gonna have to become a patron of his own podcast to figure it out. So the Aguas Frescas, what is that beer like, Benny?
It's good. I don't. It's like sweet and kind of it's berry-y. Which normally I don't.
You're like a sommelier of beers, buddy.
Yeah, but it's very good. I would give it a solid 4.5.
Oh, 4.5.
Wow.
That's a nice
generous
on Untapped. Are you on Untapped, Benny?
I'm not. So my ratings are just a guesstimate, but I do have to say that Ninkasi, you waited too long. This is the first episode I'm going outside of Ninkasi.
Right. Well, I was gonna say this is you're outside of Ninkasi. I was going to introduce us as, the Belligerent Beavs Podcast, a podcast dedicated to beer, friendship, Oregon State sports, and a podcast that may or may not be sponsored by Ninkasi Brewing Company. Not yet. We're not shutting down negotiations, but we opened an exclusive window for Ninkasi, and outside of liking a tweet or two, they didn't bite. So Ninkasi, if you're listening, you still have a chance, but
this is more or less a flex to Ninkasi. So the ball's in your court.
Yeah, we are capable. Benny is capable of drinking more than just Ninkasi.
Maybe they saw we called ourselves the Bebes, and
Bebes.
Yeah, and they decided, no, not happening.
I really can't wait until we get a cease and desist letter from FXX for taking Bebes from Schitt's Creek. That's another long-term podcast goal. Add that to the list, JP. I am Terry Horseman. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was 100 degrees early in June, and I thought, oh my God, this is miserable. And then it got to 120 degrees where you guys live, so I'm not going to complain about anything. But now it's a balmy 84, and I'm not drinking a Ninkasi. I'm not drinking a Great Notion. I'm not drinking an aggressively strong margarita mixed by an ex-girlfriend. I'm having a very delicious, refreshing grapefruit lonely blonde from Fulton Brewing Company here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They have a great tap room in the shadow of Target Field. I've probably taken you both there when you've been around, but I don't know if any of us really remember the itinerary of any of those Minneapolis trips. Usually the memories that stick out from those times is JP sending the rap songs we recorded in 2008 to our Uber drivers and telling them that we're about to blow up, and the dude takes a screenshot of the GPS. But anyway, Grapefruit Lonely Blonde, a great summer beer. If you're tuning in from the Minneapolis area, you're probably familiar, but if you're not yet, it's just a grapefruit infused version of their, locally famous Lonely Blonde, and it's lovely.
Is it better than an 11-year-old Bud Light?
Yes.
Good.
It's not better. It's not better for content than an 11-year-old Bud Light. And as we've established, we are a golf podcast. So we're partially a golf podcast. We don't have any Oregon State golf news to get into tonight, but this is a great segue. JP, you found a little something in your golf bag. You tweeted about it from the Belligerent Beavs, aka the Bebes account. And it was a really great journey. And why don't you tell us more about it and fill in any listeners who weren't following along on Twitter?
Yeah, it was pretty late at night, so I totally get it if you weren't following along. But what happened was we discovered my old golf bag, and we're digging through to find, gloves, balls, things that we can actually take to the course the next day. This is at my family cabin, and no one had touched this golf bag for a decade. And while digging through, my dad came and showed me that he had found a Bud Light. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, a can empty, right? Like I must have left that in there last time we did a round at Tristing. No, it was full. And it was actually expired in April of 2010. So, well, as a joke, I put it up on Twitter saying, should I drink this? Thinking that people would literally be like, no, man, you'll
Why
die.
would you think Twitter would be reasonable here?
There are followers. I just figured, they had some common sense, but I think they did. They just wanted me to die.
They're listening to this podcast. They don't have common sense.
So it was voted heavily in favor of me drinking it. So I put it in the fridge, cooled it off. It was quite warm when we found it. I cracked it open, and to my surprise, it had a nice fizz. It poured a great head. I'm like, maybe this stuff's just indestructible. It's like the cockroach of beer. And then I drank it, and it was awful. It was really bad. The best way to describe it is like pear juice that has gone bad.
I don't know that I've ever drank good pear juice.
I don't even like pears. So it could have been good pear juice, but to you it was bad.
Did you drink the whole thing?
No, I drank half of it and I was like, no, this is gonna make my insides bleed. So
yeah.
So you haven't golfed since pre-2010 then is what this
Well,
is.
I have. I got a new golf bag then.
So where has this golf bag been in storage? Like where actually is it?
So it probably went from Corvallis to Portland to the Bay Area to a cabin in the mountains for the last year. And no one touched it that entire time.
Right. And then there's a family outing. So there's like, oh, we have this extra golf bag.
Let's grab what we can from it. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Jim Bertram for finding it and bringing it to you and I feel like even though like you've been of drinking age for a long time, that's like when like your parent catches you, it's like the cigarette thing where it's like, all right, you want to do this. All right. You're going to smoke the whole pack or I'm going to sit here and watch you drink the whole case. Like your dad should have been, I'm going to sit here and watch you drink this entire 12-year-old.
Oh no, he drank it with me.
Did he? Did he have the other half?
No, he drank a little bit though. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Jimbo Bertram. That's king shit. I told you, we told everyone we are a golf podcast, and that is, that applies to more than just the Oregon State golf team. It's probably the most relevant golf adjacent achievement any of us have ever come across. So shout out to you, JP. I don't understand why you thought Twitter would tell you to do anything other than the more entertaining option, but I'm happy that you drink it and that you can tell us that if you have Bud Light, don't let it age for 12 years.
Yeah, definitely don't. Definitely drink it right away.
It's not going to kill you.
You will survive. Yeah, at least half. Don't drink more than half and you'll survive.
I left, in addition to those great notions, there were some Bud Lights. Are those still in your car?
Leave them in there for 11 years.
Or did you get them out? Did you dump them out? Have you drank them? What's the
I had them in my fridge, and my girlfriend's brother had come over and he crushed them. So yeah, they will not be aging for 11 years.
All right. I'm glad they went to good use before anyone got hurt.
We did on Twitter start the 11-year-old Bud Light golf bag challenge, which listener and follower Nate Edwards has agreed to participate in. He says he's had a Bud Light in his golf bag for almost a year at this point. So he says he might as well try for 11. So Nate, more power to you. Let's do it. You'll be the first one to accomplish the challenge since
on June 30th, 2031, when we've become the most listened to podcast on the internet. Nate, you can come on the show and drink your 11.
Do it live. Yes.
Hey, we talked about setting long-term goals. Like it starts with getting to episode 5. It starts with getting to 100 Twitter followers, which you do. It starts with doing a live show in Purdue. It keeps going with an 11-year-old Bud Light challenge when we're all in our, mid to late 40s. All right. We're making moves out here, Nate, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. Shout out to Nate Edwards.
Shout out to Nate.
Hopefully there's some nice rounds out on the links from now until then. The next note here, we eclipsed 100 followers on Twitter. Fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Chop them.
Chop them to you all. Thanks for following. It's kind of it's a fun account. I think have you sent a tweet from it yet? Or is it just JP and I?
I've not sent a tweet from it. I like the tweets and I will retweet the tweets.
We can give you access to it.
Yeah, you should give me access to it. I don't know if I want to ruin
maybe
our
we shouldn't give you access to it. We should give it access to like a secret listener, and then there'll be like really random stuff, and we'll have to figure out who sends it. You can usually decipher if you know us well at all. Like you can tell if it's JP or I. But some of you
mine usually has capitals.
Might be new. They're in all caps because I'm yelling, which will be on JP's tombstone when he dies from drinking a 12-year-old Bud Light on June 30th, 2031. So yeah, no, thank you all for like that helps a lot. Thank you all who retweet. You know, it's hard. There's too many podcasts in the world. There's like 100 podcasts at least, I think, and there's at least like 10 of them are probably about Oregon State, and all of them have more sources and insiders and sense than we do. We're just here to have a good fucking time, and everyone, like we said at the top of the show, who listened and shared it with a friend, following on Twitter helps a lot too. So thank you all. Cheers to you guys. Let's do a toast. Cheers to everyone who's followed on Twitter.
Cheers.
Now we're going to have to do another toast, another super celebratory toast. Guys, it's 9:25 p.m. in the Midwest right now. It's 7:25 p.m. Pacific time. We are mere hours away from it being midnight and it being July 1st, 2021, which means
fuck Larry Scott.
Larry Scott is the fuck out.
Yes,
Larry, you suck and you know it. JP, yes. I want thunderbolts. I want fireworks. I want bells. I want that weird siren. When you're in post, add every celebratory noise that exists on the internet to this part of the show. I'm sure my neighbors in my apartment are like, what the fuck is this dude yelling about? It's because Larry Scott's not commissioner of the Pac-12 anymore. We finally fucking made it. If you're listening to this, he's gone. He's out. He's FOH'd. Fuck yeah, you guys. This fucking dick. I'm not going to say he's, Donald Trump level of, idiocy and tyranny and all this shit, but God damn it, I'm so glad he's gone.
It's a new day.
We're going to talk a lot about a lot of, key small victories for Oregon State later on in the show, but I feel like this is a victory for the conference. It's a victory for college sports fans everywhere. It's a victory for America. It's a victory for the world. Larry, I mean this sincerely. Suck shit.
Yeah. Chop you, Larry.
You motherfucker. And normally, so I'm the one who works for a creative writing program and teaches writing, but Benny, I believe you have prepared some poetry for us on this very topic.
Yes, you should prepare yourself, Terry, because this is about to be the best poem you have ever heard.
I can't wait to use this as an example for my students.
So when I please do. When I realized what today was and what the significance of Larry Scott being gone was, I had a lot of adrenaline flowing through my body, and I didn't really know what outlet to use. And I don't know why I came up with a haiku, but I did. And
you turned to poetry.
Now the time is nigh. By tomorrow you'll be gone. Fuck you, Larry Scott. Wow. And that's copywritten, so you can't use that, Terry.
Well, I'll give you credit. Will you give it to us one more time?
Yes. Now the time is nigh. By tomorrow you'll be gone. Fuck you, Larry Scott.
How long did that take you? It's wonderful.
You got it. I was trying to be like, it's not technically haiku, bro. Be real, like shitty writer friend of me.
Yeah, I Wikipedia'd what a haiku was before I wrote that. It took me longer than what I'd like to admit.
It's great.
Thanks.
It's honestly great. It's an exceptional haiku.
I appreciate that.
A master.
You should
class.
send it to Pac-12.
I should. There was a lot of emotion that went into writing that, by the way.
Yeah,
I could feel it. I really felt it.
I'll retweet it from the Under Reviews Twitter account.
You should.
That's
I'm
a legit
tweet it out right now.
A sports lit mag.
I think it's the greatest sports lit mag on the planet, in my totally unbiased and objective opinion of.
Well, I could, I'll validate that opinion. So I'm not a design editor at all for it or anything either.
No,
so.
Yeah, I have nothing to do with it. But yeah, fucking Larry Scott. It's been such a shit show under that dude. So I'm just happy he's gone. And I don't even, the type of, business stuff that the conference commissioner is involved with is a bit above, my head sometimes. But the fact that Pac-12 network is impossible to get almost anywhere you live. They're spending millions of dollars. They just have random offices in the fucking Bay Area. Like, I'm not nothing against the Bay Area, JP.
No, let me tell you about that office though. I used to work right up the street from it. Mm-hmm. And I'd walk there like every day because I discovered a salad I like at a cafe in the office space.
Wait, was Larry Scott making the salads? Because if it's not, this still ends in fuck Larry Scott.
It was like a chicken Cobb salad and it had bacon. So I loved it.
Was it called the Larry Scott salad, where it starts out really good and by the end it's just moldy lettuce? It's like you take over a delicious salad and then you just fuck it up by the end.
Do you really purchase a salad, or do you inherit it and it's in kind of good shape and then you make a bunch of decisions that totally ruin it?
Like removing bacon,
like
and
taking
lettuce.
The bacon out and putting like expired mayonnaise on it.
And then pouring a 11-year-old Bud Light on top.
All right. Well, we're not roasting him as well as I hoped we were, but hey, Larry, don't let the door hit you on the way out, buddy. I hope no one ever hears from you or sees you again in the entire sporting public. You are toxic and worthless. Peace the fuck out, man. Later.
Yeah, peace.
On to positive Pac-12 football news. Cue Andre Nicotina voice saying Fillmore, but it's not Fillmore this time. It's Dunmo. John,
I like that.
John Dunmore Jr.
Did somebody say Fillmore?
Dunmo, John Dunmore Jr., a former top 120 player, top 20 wide receiver from the class of 2019, officially transfers to Oregon State today from Penn State, a school that beat us in 2008 that I was in attendance for. Fuck you for that, Joe Paterno ass motherfuckers. But yeah, this guy's ours, the latest of 7 recent transfers, not awful transfers. Like we used to be getting like guys from JUCO that were unrated or like 1-stars that like had some kind of potential. No disrespect to any of those guys, but it was hard to put a lot of hype behind any of those announcements. These are like dudes who are in like the top 100 of, like Rivals magazines, and you see on all kinds of lists and shit. Jay Smith's doing stuff, you guys, and this is just the latest. What excites you guys about Dunmore specifically, and all this blitz of transfer news that we're struggling to keep up with?
Dunmore transferring is obviously amazing in its own right, and I think we could have an entire podcast on what our receiving core is going to look like next year. But I think the bigger picture is if you look at the reporters that report on Oregon State football, it seems like they're all in unison with the sentiment that's coming out of Corvallis right now, is that there's a sort of momentous tide that's shifting in terms of the recruiting. I mean, I can't remember the last time that Oregon State had a recruiting class that was in the top half of the Pac-12. And it seems like that's becoming a much more of a realistic chance that we're going to see that upcoming. It possibly could happen this year. I've heard that there's some more recruiting news that's going to be coming out in the next couple of days. So, I mean, that would be amazing. If we got into the top half of the Pac-12 recruiting class, that would be such a huge accomplishment for Jonathan Smith.
I told you guys we're going for 8 wins.
You did. I think I'm officially predicting bowl eligibility now. And, I was I was the negative Nancy on the first episode, but it's hard not to be hyped,
Well, and here's the deal. Like the receiving core is stacked. We have really a lot of depth at quarterback. I'm waiting to see who kind of comes out to be like the shining star of that entire group. But like adding Neuer as well really just gives us like a ton of options to see who is going to stick with all the personnel and the scheme. But like I was actually really worried at the end of the season about like where our weapons were going to come from, especially knowing that Jamar was probably going to be gone. Still trying to be optimistic about everything. But, we also lost like Colby Taylor, who I actually saw progress a ton at the end of the season. I was really excited about him as like even like a third option as a receiver. Just like a hands guy. He was just like everything was sticking to him like glue, and more power to him to do what he feels is right for him to retire. But like, it actually kind of bummed me out thinking, man, I thought that might be like a dark horse who would come up and do something. I've always had a ton of hope for Lindsey and thinking like, come on, this guy was a 4-star Nebraska recruit. Like, when's he going to shine as well? But I think that collectively, this entire group is going to be so hard to stop, regardless of who's quarterback, really, regardless of our running game too. The one thing that we noticed about Smith is he can take a position group that has a ton of talent and utilize them in a variety of ways with his offense. So I'm not worried about these guys getting their receptions or their touches. We're going to see some pretty exciting plays across the entire wide receiver core this year. And it's awesome that Dunmore's made his move over to the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, and is immediately eligible. So I'm really, really looking forward to the season. I bought some gear today because of the excitement. So I'm all for it. I'm ready.
That's how you know the excitement's real, when you go to, OSU Beavers.com/shop. Yeah. When they announced that Dunmore was taking an official visit, I was like, it's a good sign that a player with this pedigree is interested in coming to Oregon State and playing for Coach Smith. But I was just thinking about the receiver room. I'm like, there's only so many passes to go around, and whatever Smith sold them on convinced them. And it's just, even without these transfers returning from last season, you have Trevon Bradford, who's been good for a long time, Champ Flemings, who has flashed just incredible playmaking ability. Zariah Beason, who looked great in a lot of action last year. And then Trayshawn Harrison, who transferred in and played pretty fantastic. And then we add, Micaiah Tongue, John Dunmore Jr. I believe I'm missing one.
Oh, Bolden.
Yes. And the list goes on and on. They moved and Tyjon Lindsey, who's still a receiver, and they moved Josiah Irish from receiver to cornerback, because Irish, he wasn't fucking Jerry Rice out there, but he made some big plays for us as a receiver and on special teams. And it's just, you're more valuable as a cornerback, which is a testament to how strong that receiver room is. And just, the running game, you mentioned it's not going to have Jamar, but BJ Baylor has been a solid runner for us. Another transfer, Deshaun Fenwick, could be a good player. The thing that really makes me feel optimistic about the offense is the entire offensive line is returning. So no matter whether it's Neuer, Nolan, Jebbia, or, even somebody else, they don't need to worry about anything else. They need to worry about being a competent quarterback. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off of the quarterback position. Hopefully Smith does a good job coaching whoever it is that's starting from day one as a quarterback himself. Just being like, hey, just go out there, play within yourself, and let your offense win it for you. You don't need to be amazing. You don't need to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country or a Heisman candidate for Oregon State to win games anymore. In the past, that's what we were asking of quarterbacks in the last, basically 7-8 years. Just go out there, make some good throws, and trust your playmakers, and it's gonna work out. And I'm not totally sold that our defense can make enough stops to be like a true contender. But man, these shootouts are going to be fun, you guys, because our offense is going to keep pace. And God, I'm just thinking about I'm a receiver is my favorite position in all sports. I'm the dude who drafts wide receivers in fantasy football, the first 5 rounds.
Randy Moss.
I'm so excited. Randy
I was a receiver in Pee Wee football.
Add JP to the room. Get him. He's right there, Coach Smith. He's in your backyard. It's gonna be fun. And I think this is the Dunmore signing, a guy who, like, every analysis of him includes projecting his NFL draft stock, and not every prospect gets that. And obviously there are lots of guys who they talk that about, former Beaver receiver Reuben Jackson was I think our only 5-star transfer ever, and that didn't pan out. But it's still rare that someone is talked about with that kind of pedigree and then comes to Corvallis to play ball in an already stacked position group. So
I have a question for you, and it's alluding to that. So do you guys think that our offense will look significantly different than last year? Because Dunmore is obviously, I don't know the true reason why he's transferring, but one of the things that he has to be thinking about is his is stock for the NFL draft, right? And so he's not going to transfer to a program where he doesn't think that he's going to be able to increase his targets from Penn State. And with the absolutely stacked receiving core that we already had, that doesn't seem very obvious to me. So to me, it seems like Smith had to have pitched him on like running 5 receiver wide sets or something of that nature.
Yeah, presumably, I would assume so. Like, well, I mean, if it's our most talented group on the field, Smith's going to capitalize on that. I think that's really what he's shown about being dynamic on offense is he'll take our weaknesses and hide them and then double down on where our strengths are and just kind of like let it ride throughout the course of a handful of games. I mean, like you look at Jefferson last year and like he just ran it down people's throats over and over and over again. And like we said in like one of our earlier episodes, like teams were anticipating that was happening and still couldn't stop it. I think that he probably sold them on like, hey, we've got a strong core that's going to open up single coverage for you, and we're going to get a quarterback that's going to get you the ball, and it's going to look good for you as you look to take your game to the next level.
Yeah, I think the offense has been pretty run heavy the last couple of seasons because Jamar Jefferson was clearly the best player on our team and in several instances the best football player on the field. I can't get over watching that Oregon tape enough because seeing someone just running all over those puke yellow jerseys is, just a sight for sore eyes. I think Smith is pretty adaptable though. And I think he does recognize that this will be the biggest strength. And we haven't talked about the tight ends yet. And you have Musgrave and you have Quitoriano, and they've played a lot of football. They can block and they can catch. And the strength of this offense will be in the passing game. I think BJ Baylor is a good running back. He's not an All-American running back. He's not the type of guy who can turn if you give Jefferson the ball on your own 12-yard line, he could take it to the house. And Baylor's good and you can lean on him. And I think he's going to be used in maybe similar ways to like how Riley used Ev Bernard back in the day, where it's just, he's, you're between the hash marks guy. He's not going to get thrown for a loss too often. He's a really smart runner and he can be really useful. But if we're going to blow games wide open and we're going to get to bowl eligibility and beyond and actually, run past a bunch of these teams, these guys who are transferring from these programs that are big time athletes, that they are the receivers. Trayshawn Harrison was a huge get for us. And now it's almost like no one's talking about him because of the other transfers that have happened. And he wasn't eligible until December last year. So he only got to play a couple of games, but he could be the best player by a long shot. And like Dunmore could be the afterthought. Tongan could be the afterthought. And, Flemings could break out again. And, Bradford's been the best receiver that this program has had collectively over like the last 3 years combined. It's just an embarrassment of riches, it feels like.
It will be interesting to watch because I can't remember the last time that Oregon State had a truly like high-powered offense without the most dynamic player or one of the top 2 most dynamic players being the running back, whether it was, Simonton or Rogers or Ev or Jamar. Like there was always a running back that was at the core of that. And we don't seem to have that this year. So I think that our offense is going to look significantly different than what Beaver Nation is used to.
Yeah, it's going to be dope. Well, since we've mentioned so many of great current Oregon State receivers, as we've all, talked about, it's one of our favorite positions. And also it's one that Oregon State's been pretty good at historically. So while we're talking about current Oregon State receivers, let's have a quick transition to past Oregon State receivers. And let's all mention we don't have to say the favorite, but a favorite former Oregon State receiver. JP, why don't we start with you?
I think the obvious choice is always Mike Hass. But that's not my choice.
You just had to mention Mike Hass so that we can play the Mike Hass song.
Exactly. My favorite receiver for a variety of reasons. Okay, can I split this all up? This is too difficult of a question. My favorite receiver.
It's a pretty simple question, but make it as difficult as you want, homie.
My favorite receiver off the field and in person was Ruben Jackson. And Rubes was the coolest dude you could ever run into walking around Corvallis or hanging out with at tailgaters or some house party. He was awesome. Such a chill dude. Then my other favorite, also not really because of anything on the field, was Anthony Wheat Brown. Because when you play NCAA football, that guy got so good if you took over the Oregon State team and ran them through whatever that mode was.
It was dynasty mode, right?
And didn't you have friends from your hometown that thought that he was like a fake player that people made up?
Yes, they did. And it was like a running joke that if something seemed like somebody was lying, they would be like, Anthony Wheat Brown. They would just like say that because they thought he was fake.
Because he was so good in NCAA in 2005 and in real life.
One time I saw Anthony Wheat Brown walk out of the MU doors, and he just walks out. He's like in some slides and sweats and like no backpack or anything. It's the middle of the day, a school day.
He's this getting that Panda Express, man.
And he's just singing to himself, "Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me?" But he replaced girlfriend with boyfriend, and he was just living his life. And I thought at that point, I want to be that guy. When I'm a sophomore, I'm going to be Anthony Wheat Brown.
When I'm a sophomore. Was he? Did he have headphones in? Like, was he wasn't listening to the song. He was just singing.
He was just singing it. Yeah.
By himself.
Yeah.
Walking out of the MU, "Don't you wish your boyfriend was hot like me?" Yeah. I think a lot of people do, Anthony, if you're listening. If we ever get Anthony Wheat Brown or Ruben Jackson on the pod, we've made it. That's the end of the long-term goal.
Agreed.
All right. So JP just mentioned everyone who's ever played receiver for Oregon State. Benny, if anyone's left.
Yeah. I have
your favorite
two
pass catchers.
So the first would be Chad Johnson or Ocho Cinco. And the reason, obviously he was really good and went on to the play in the NFL and was really good there. But so my dad went to Oregon State. So I grew up a Beaver fan, and I didn't suffer through all 28 losing seasons, but I suffered through a number of those losing seasons.
We are that old.
Yeah, right. So then to see that team not make a bowl game, then we get to the Hawaii Bowl, and that was really exciting. And then it was like the year after that, all of a sudden we should have played in the national championship game that year. And to watch Chad Johnson destroy all the Pac-10, but then come in and single-handedly destroy Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. It was all that pent-up disappointment being able to come out in sort of one game to watch him play in that Fiesta Bowl game. So Chad Johnson for sure. And then the other was Sammy Strotter. And I really like Sammy. Yeah, because so he was there when we all went to school. And I just remember like it was pretty publicized that he was dealing with mental health issues. And so to me, it was always so exciting to see him return kicks and bring him back to the house, just because you know that there was all that extra pressure on him to do exactly that. And he did it so often that you would think the pressure would not be there, but it certainly was. And so that was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and the energy at Reeser when he'd be sitting back there waiting for a punt, obviously he felt all of that weighing on him, and still was like, just if he could shake the entire defense and all the pressure from Reeser Stadium and still take it to the house at a ridiculous rate. Honestly, it was expected at a certain point that if they actually kicked the ball to Sammy, he was taking it back.
Which was dumb.
He is the only player in Oregon State history that I can remember people chanting his name.
Yeah.
Like on a regular basis.
Yeah. That was fun. Yeah,
it was.
I'm not ever going to say that there is a negative to beating USC when they were number one in the country in 2008, but we dealt with this in the last episode that the Belligerent Beavs didn't remember that 2006 game against when USC was number 3.
Yep.
And Sammy was unfucking believable in that whole game. He didn't score a receiving touchdown, but he made so many incredible catches while being double teamed. Everson Bernard was out that game. You know, they had the athletes to neutralize Joe Newton a little bit, but Newton, you know, he still got loose a little bit. But we were going to Sammy every time when we needed a big play, and it was amazing. And then also when we're up 23-10 in the third quarter, you can find this on YouTube. It's grainy as fuck. It pisses me off. I don't think HD came around until 08, because when you watch highlights of the 2006 season, it looks like it's from like 1989. It's ridiculous. It looks like it's an old ESPN classic tape filtered through another ESPN classic tape. But he had this incredible punt return that puts us up 30-10. And that was my first my freshman year. That was the first experience I really had as a Beaver fan. And the 7 games before that were really up and down. I think we were 4-3 at that point. People were calling for Riley's head. They were calling for Matt Moore to be benched for Canfield. And he had the most electrifying 60-yard return that put us up 30-10 on USC. And we needed every bit of that because we ended up winning 33-31 and got out there with the skin of our teeth. But good God, that game was fun. And yeah, everything you said about him, he was just a joy to watch. So you guys haven't left a lot for me. But thankfully, it's a position that we've been rich with. A lot of times I'm asked who my favorite Beavers are, and Sammy Stroudder always comes up because of everything we just talked about. Another one that comes up, it sounds boring, but Brandon Cooks, like his 2013 season. It's not only one of the best seasons in Oregon State football history, it's one of the best seasons in college football history. He had like 135 receptions, ran away with the Biletnikoff Award in a year that I think Mike Evans finished second. And unfortunately, Cooks has had kind of a weird NFL career. He's been traded a lot, but he's still played pretty well most of where he's been, but just, concussion issues and everything. And gotta mention my boy, James Rodgers. That was some of the most fun fly sweeps ever. That fly sweep in double overtime at Autzen in 2007, where I think it's Patrick Chung who whiffed on the little dead leg he gives right around the corner. It was a subtle move, but I remember watching that game from a bar in Portland. I was with Ehoy and his family. We thought about going to the game, but couldn't get tickets, so we went to Portland instead. It was at Autzen, and that was at the point where, it had been over a decade where the home team had won every game, and we ended that streak. And we don't need to talk about any of the Oregon State games that happened the next, 6 or 7 years after that, or longer. But that was such an incredible moment. And James was unreal. Also, one of the nicer guys you'll ever meet in your life. And it was just like, I remember him just being on the field with that 5'6" frame of his and being so tiny. It's like that scene in Rudy where he runs out for the first time and John Favreau's in the stands and just yells, "He's so little." It was like that every time he was on the field, but he was so good. He was such a smart player too. He was such a great route runner and just seemed to always make plays. And when the ball was in his hands, it was just magical. So yeah, so I'll say B Cooks and James Rodgers for my two.
Speaking of the Rodgers brothers, I mean, with all the NIL news today for college athletes, did anyone catch Quiz's tweet to James?
No.
So it's a gif of a man holding a stack of cash like a phone, and then another huge stack of cash over and around the top of his head. And he says to James, "This would have been a live look of us walking into Impulse or Peacock after the game."
Hey, Quiz, I love you to death, but aim higher. I understand, Impulse or Peacock, that's the best Corvallis can offer. But yeah, if you guys were taking home stacks of cash, I think you would have been riding party buses to more exciting bars in more exciting towns. Probably not playing at Oregon State at all, but I just thought we would have made it rain at Impulse as if they weren't the shit at Impulse already.
That's true. Exactly. You guys didn't need the cash.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever paid for a drink at Impulse the entire time. Oh man. Well, speaking of, we've spent a lot of time on football tonight, but hey, we got to. More former Beaver news. You guys, arguably the best running back in Oregon State history, Steven Jackson got married.
Yeah.
We know, we first saw this because of Evanson Bernard's Instagram. And I just thought it was so awesome that Evanson Bernard was at Steven Jackson's wedding. And there is no evidence to support this, but I just imagined every single Beaver running back ever was at Steven Jackson's wedding. It's so true. And I'm just like, yeah, it's a fun little fraternity, it hasn't always been the most exciting football team in the world or the most successful, but we've seemed to always have good running backs, from Steven to Ev to Quiz to Jermar. I think Artavis Pierce was great. Ryan Nall was great. Wrecking Nall. They're both on the Chicago Bears right now, which just beats me to shit. But
Stormbar Woods.
Storm Woods.
I forgot about Storm Woods.
Storm Woods. I don't know why I only texted this to Weehage, but when Storm Woods was on the Beavers, every single time he scored a touchdown, I texted only Weehage the words "Storm's a Bruin." Yeah, and I don't know why that was just a me and Weehage thing. I should have sent it to our whole thread, but I don't know. I think I just did it one time and then I kept doing it. Also,
I don't think we had a thread at that point. We were still using Nokia phones. I'm pretty sure.
No. You.
I might have still been Team BlackBerry at that point with a trackpad that only scrolled side to side and not up and down. So that's how I could get to Weehage. But also shout out Teron Ward, who also had a nice little NFL career after that. I had one class with Teron Ward. Nice guy.
Yeah.
The only negative thing I can say about Teron Ward is his brother TJ played for Oregon. And, I'm going to say that's not Teron's fault. So I'm just going to say all those guys were at Steven Jackson's wedding, and it was just a Beaver running back jubilation. And just congrats to Steve Jack. I loved seeing that on Instagram. I wasn't expecting it, but
and his wife Asia Jackson now. Congratulations, Mrs. Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo! Man,
she's Mrs.
Jackson. Yeah. Sorry, Mrs. Jackson, for calling you Miss Jackson. This is the whitest moment in the history of this podcast. Yeah, that was awesome. I feel like I kind of missed out because I feel like in terms of talent and just sort of, on-field accomplishment, that Steven Jackson was probably the most dominant or just best Oregon State football player maybe in the program's history. Like to be even at that point, running backs were still getting drafted in the first round a lot, but like in Minneapolis, like I knew everything about that dude because of how fucking good he was. And that was not something that was happening for most Oregon State football players, in the early 2000s. And he wasn't the man on that Fiesta Bowl team. He played on some teams that were bowl eligible, but not the iconic team. So
my biggest takeaway from Steven Jackson's wedding is that Ken Simonton got a dad bod as fuck. He does not look like a running back, but he is my favorite. I think he might be my favorite Oregon State football player.
Simonton was there. Steven Jackson was there. And Ev were there. That's fucking awesome.
Don't be hating on Simonton's bod. You know what? Right. He's got that like East Bay OG, for California OG look. He's rocking it. Good on you, Ken.
He's in his 40s now. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, Benny.
Hey, you can't
hate just because Simonton doesn't wear a 16-pound weighted vest around the house every day.
I'm not hating on him. I think that he should be able to do whatever he wants. But I'm just saying that if I looked at him, I would not have imagined that he played in a BCS bowl game as a starting running back.
Especially because he was a tiny running back.
He was a tiny running back. That's true.
TJ Duckett, he was not.
No.
So if you guys had been invited to Steven Jackson's wedding, what would you have brought as a gift? JP, let's start with you.
I went back and forth with this for a while. Would I bring Dennis Erickson or with like a bow on his head? Or would I just bring like a nice cutout of the old orange end zone from old Reser Stadium turf? Something that's a little more thoughtful than just bringing an ex-coach.
Like a fondue set or some other registry item.
I asked my wife the same question in preparation of this segment, and she said a football.
It's like, because he played football. Do you remember that, Steven?
Like, I'm pretty sure he's got plenty of footballs. He doesn't need one for his wedding.
I vote Erickson. I think that'd be funnier. Is Erickson wrapped, or is he just has a bow on his head?
He just has a bow on his head. He looks confused.
But he's sitting like on the gift table. He's not like walking around with you or anything.
No. I'd have my arm around him and walk up to SJax and be like, "Hey man, this for you. Congratulations.
Do whatever you want with him. I don't care.
Just keep him away from the open bar."
You're right. Benny, what about you, man?
Man, I don't know. That's tough. And that's tough to follow up. I don't know. Maybe I was going to say bring Derek Anderson's ex-girlfriend, Sarah Jean Underwood. But that's not.
I love how you guys are bringing people who weren't invited to the wedding. As two people who have been married before and gone through weddings, I don't think you'd be thrilled to have someone not on the guest list showed up as, this is your gift. Yeah, he needs $150 plate dinner. just add a chair to the wedding party table. He'll sit there. It's fine. So you didn't think about this at all, and JP clearly thought about it too much.
Yeah.
I just remember from when the Falcons were on Hard Knocks. It was the end of Steven Jackson's career, and he was on the Falcons at that point. And he opened, it was temporary, but he opened his own art gallery in Atlanta. And I think that was a very, big passion of his for, his post football days. So I would probably do some framed modern art. I would maybe steal something now that JP's talked and get that old ugly Reser Stadium turf and incorporate it into a painting or a frame job somehow and give him that or something artistic. He's not going to give it.
Stealing JP's idea.
No, I was doing something. I said painting at first. I'd make my own goddamn painting, and it would be terrible because that's not a form I work in at all or have any talent in whatsoever.
It's the thought that counts.
And it's the thought that counts. I'd be like, Steven, it's abstract, like the abstract art that whatever. He's not going to open it when I'm there or whatever. I don't have to give him an explanation. I would give him the gift of art. Fuck you guys. I thought this question was going to be lighthearted and full of laughs, and now we're just judging each other. Let's move on. God damn it.
Well, before we do that, I am clearly the best gift giver of the bebes.
You're good. You're good.
I am the giving tree of the bebes.
All right. Well,
settled.
Steven Jackson is really grateful for your fictional gifts. On that same note, which former Beaver football player or current Beaver football player, but I think we'll all go with a former Beaver football player, of everyone who's ever played football for Oregon State University, which one would make the best wedding guest? You've both lived through the thrill of a wedding. I have yet to do so, but you know a lot about putting a guest list together and who makes a great wedding guest. Of everyone who has played football for your favorite college team, who do you think would make the most fun wedding guest? I thought I had an answer, but after I heard about Anthony Wheat Brown singing "Don't You Wish Your Boyfriend Was Hot Like Me" to himself, I think I'm changing my answer, but I want to hear from the guys who've actually been married first. JP, you go.
Look, you want people who get the crowd excited at your wedding. So it would definitely be Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson.
There's only one answer for this.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Chad, I know you're listening. Yeah, I know you're listening. And I'm sorry I didn't invite you to my wedding, but I should have. It would have been a hell of a time. I think at that point you were tweeting a lot, but and probably very busy doing that. But yeah, you need some people that make the crowd want to cheer, dance, laugh. I think Chad checks all those boxes, so he's the right answer.
Benny, you're saying the same thing?
Yeah, there's only one answer for that. That's Chad Johnson, plain and simple.
I'm gonna throw some other names out here. I remember being at Lake Shasta and being on the beach at Slaughterhouse Island. Shout out Shasta Weekend. If that's still happening for Oregon State students every year, all I can say, good luck and be safe. But it was a great weekend. One year I'll always remember is all the boats are parked in this party cove, and a football is flying off of one of the boats and being thrown back to the boat, and then it's coming back to a different person on the beach, and everyone's going crazy. And I'm like, what is this? So I go over and I see who's doing it, and at the top of this boat is Lyle Moivau, just gunning footballs into the party on the beach, catching them back and then just throwing them. And then at one point I just go, Lyle, and he kind of sees me, and then he just points and then just throws me a dart. And I'm like, it's in the air. And I'm like, I have to catch this football. Nothing in my life has mattered more. And I did catch it. I don't think it was that clean or that nice. And I'm sure my pass back to him wasn't that pretty, but I did catch it. And I just remember thinking, like, Lyle's a good dude. And I had a couple other, meetings with Lyle, brief ones, but that made me seem like he knew what's up. He would be great. A little bit after our time, but cornerback Steven Nelson talked a lot of shit. I think he'd be really fun.
I have a photo of myself, Lyle, and Sean Canfield trying to hijack the DJ booth at tailgaters, drinking 40s when they did like $5 40s.
So Lyle would hijack the DJ booth at your wedding. What an incredible story to start your nuptials.
You know, I have to say, Lyle is up there with one of my favorite Beavers. He's not my favorite Beaver, but he is the culprit of my favorite Beaver play when they were playing the University of Washington. Was it an end around that happened?
I know exactly.
And he just fucking leveled the D end on Washington.
Grayson Gunheim. Grayson Gunheim. He was their best D end that year.
It was unbelievable. It might be the best block I've ever seen, and it was by a quarterback. And then
he stayed upright.
Flexed, and he just flexed after.
It was one of those end arounds to James, and I think James got like 4 yards on it. And it was like third down, and we didn't get the first, and he was so flexing, which makes it even better. But like Ruben Jackson's not making he's not pushing Ocho for the number one invite. No,
because Rubes was just chill. He wasn't like trying to be the center of anything. He enjoyed a good party, but he wasn't trying to get people to go crazy.
I get so like this is like relative where it's like if Ocho Cinco's at your wedding, that's going to be like what people talk about. But like, do you want to get upstaged by the biggest celebrity that the program has, or do you want someone who's just like gonna when the dance floor is a little stoic, or after the initial blitz of people dancing, it slows down a little bit. You need someone to be there and reignite the fucking party.
I
still gonna do that, or is Ocho. Or is he, just signing autographs at the bar? I don't know. I feel like Ocho.
He would be like in a pink suit, smoking a cigar, and wearing a huge gold chain, just going nuts the whole time. It would be like Ocho Cinco became sort of the showman of the NFL for like 5 years. It would be dumb not to pick Ocho Cinco, but. If Ocho didn't go to OSU, there are plenty of other good options for sure.
Yeah, you remember early in the Twitter days, like Ocho would take people out like on party buses. He wasn't even drinking. He would just like pick up random people from Twitter and take them on a party bus and load it up with alcohol, and just go rage in like Miami or wherever he was, Cincinnati somewhere. So he knows how to have a good party, and I think he wouldn't like try to overshadow the bride and groom because he wouldn't be drunk and disorderly. He would just be calculated and hilarious.
Yeah. And I do have to give an honorable mention in this category to another Oregon State wide receiver I love. There's just so many of them. But none other than Marcus Wheaton, who was at our friend Aaron Stevens' wedding. We actually did share a wedding with Marcus, and he was couldn't be a nicer guy. Had the dopest outfit of anyone at this wedding. Was really fun to be around. And at the end of the night, our group of friends, we were there. We were at Oregon State from the mid to late aughts. So Soulja Boy was a big part of our collegiate experience. So at Aaron and Mari's wedding, Soulja Boy, of course, plays, and we I say we, but mostly me, have to do the dance as intense and serious as possible. And after the song finished, I believe it was the last song of the dance party. The dust is settling. We're trying to find rides back to our various accommodations. Wheaton came up to me and said, "Man, that was a mean Soulja Boy."
I remember
Terry's heart just melted.
My heart melted. I will remember that moment for the rest of my life. If I ever get married and take that step, that will forever still be my favorite wedding moment.
Sorry, future wife.
Which is probably why I won't get married. But no, it won't be my favorite, but it'll still probably be top 5.
Shout out Aaron and Mari. Their anniversary is tomorrow. Their 4th.
Oh, yeah. So it was nice. 4 years ago tomorrow in beautiful wine country, and that freshly painted dance floor, JP, that ended up on our suits
because I slipped on it and I literally.
I didn't even slip back. Betty, do you remember the late 90s Mentos commercial where a dude in a suit sits down on a bench and the pattern of the bench is like freshly painted? So he has really thick pinstripes. So what he ends up doing is he just rolls on the bench to make it even. That like JP was the realistic version of that.
Was it just a thick pinstripe on the back?
It was on a farm in the middle of wine country. So there was this big ass plank of wood that had to have been painted the day before or something like that. And it was all over like my shoes and shit and like the cuffs of my pants. And at the end of the night, JP slipped because like everyone had been spilling drinks and it was really slick. This beautiful blue groomsman suit that Stevens had picked out that looked so great on all of us was just like, it was like a tie-dye white.
Like it was insane. It looked like it had a cloud pattern all up and down the back.
It kind of looked good. It looked cool. Like it looked like there was a pattern, but not.
Luckily, it was like 11 o'clock and then things were winding down. But I do remember, I remember looking up from the bottom of the dance floor being like, oh no. Because everyone kind of knew like, oh shoot, the paint's getting on my shoes. I'm like, then I'm laying in it.
Right.
And everyone on the dance floor is looking at me.
And you're trying to get up and you're like flopping over. So now it's on the front of the suit.
And like, let's not forget that everyone knew that we had our 6-month-old with us at the wedding. So they're like, who is this irresponsible father falling on the dance floor, getting covered in white paint?
No one thought that. No one thought that. Let's be real.
Marcus Wheaton probably did.
No, Marcus was too focused on my Soldier Boy. So I bailed you out there, buddy. Yeah, that was a good time. Was the suit salvageable?
Oh yeah, it's totally clean. It's totally clean.
Right.
I wear it all the time. Well, not all the time. I don't really wear suits ever. But
I can't remember.
When I do wear a suit, I wear that one. It still works.
There you go. All right. Well, we didn't get through all of the bullet points, and there is even stuff we left off of these bullet points, but I think it's time to call it an episode. Maybe we'll be a little bit more frequent through the rest of the summer. There's a lot of stuff to get through, and it's exciting. There's a lot of transfer news. There's a lot of baseball stuff. We didn't get to any of the Olympic news tonight, and don't worry, listeners, we're going to get to that. We want to spread as much love as we can to those athletes who are going to go over to Tokyo. I'm going to try to get our dear friend and up until recently, a longtime Tokyo resident, Eric Hoy, on the pod to talk a little bit about the city of Tokyo, and then we can break down the Olympics and the Oregon State flavor that's headed to Tokyo for the Olympics. It's going to be very exciting. A lot of Oregon State programs, especially gymnastics, heavily represented. It's a very exciting time for them, and there'll be a lot to tune in for. Gymnastics is one of my favorite summer Olympic events to tune into. It's amazing. So exciting time to be a Beaver, you guys. It's a great day to be a Beaver.
Always.
Dunmo.
Chop them.
And chop them. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Peace. Go Beavs.